And what is up, everybody? I know it's been a while since I've posted anything. There are other things that I had ideas for, but the one fan who's genuinely worried every time I don't post something that he might be a ghost profile. But what happens is I keep watching videos of guys who do a lot of toy reviews and do a lot of toy videos. Because they're toy connoisseurs like myself, and basically talking about how Toys R Us is going to be shutting down in the U.S. permanently. And it was bad. Now I wanted to do a video of closing down Toys R Us Times Square. I used to work at Toys R Us Times Square the first day that it had opened, but what happens is, I went there with my family. One of the last few days that it was closing down, I was very upset because it was the world's largest toy store, and that place was magical. No offense, but that place was magical. You could watch, if you watch my video, one of my very old video of mine, New York used to be. I take you into Toys R Us Times Square, the world's largest toy store, and you get to see everything. And when it was shutting down and it had nothing left, I was heartbroken because all the memories, all the good memories that I had there, because I used to frequent there a lot. But that was not the Toys R Us that was near and dear to my heart. I'm in a Toys R Us right now. I am in the Yonkers Central Avenue Toys R Us. I was probably 6 years old first time my dad took me here, and I'm walking down the aisle. This whole thing over here, before it turned into Babies R Us, used to be mostly just the boy stuff. Over there, see the bikes. Like around here would be the girl section, but over there was all boys. And right now, just they changed everything around once they switched it to Toys R Us Babies R Us. And it's bad enough that I'm a sucker for nostalgia, and it's like this is the first Toys R Us I ever set foot in, and for the most part, this is I have entirely too many fond memories of my dad here. For those of you who don't know, my dad passed away about going on 3 years ago, and this is where he bought me a bunch of different GI Joes, the GI Joe Tiger Force Snowcat. He got me pretty much the entire first wave, like every Batman variant of the first wave of the Batman Returns action figures, even the Toys R Us exclusives of variants of that, and so many other different things. For my sister Darcy got her first 12-speed bike from this Toys R Us. My sisters, did so much shopping, like different dolls, different toys, stuff like that. And I haven't been here since about maybe 2002. I haven't set foot in here, for that long. It's been 16 years since the last time I set foot in here. It doesn't look anything like I remember it. But I'm very heartbroken, because from what they tell me, it's like they won't know for sure that they're shutting down till the end of this month. And then if they are shutting, especially if they're going to shut this store down, it'll take about 90 days. So you still got the summer. So they're probably just going to spend the rest of the time just trying to get rid of everything that they have. So eventually everything going to liquidation, but then everything's going to fly off the shelves, just like the Toys R Us Times Square. And the new place that they have open now is like, it's seriously, it's as if they're insulting my intelligence. From Toys R Us Times Square to Times Square Toys R Us, and it's nowhere near as big. You know, the theme is still New York City, but just everything about it, just even to the small animatronic T-Rex that they have, as opposed to the Jurassic Park, you know, T-Rex that was given to them by Steven Spielberg. It's like seriously, they're literally insulting your intelligence. The Toys R Us exclusive stuffs, you know, I don't think anywhere sells those replicas of replicas of those championship belts. Not to mention, for as inexpensive as they are, these are only $100. If you were to get them off of the like any like pro wrestling website or anything like that, replicas like this would go for about $300. And Jakks Pacific made them, and they released them for only $100. I was like, who wouldn't, like, seriously, who wouldn't want that? Then, you know, they got these, which is great little generic toy for boys. It's only, and you could only get these at Toys R Us, so those are going to be gone as well. And like I said, I'm very heartbroken about this. You know, certain things about my dad that I want to remember. Good things about him that I want to remember. This is one of the last few good standing memories I have with me and my father, and there's a possibility it's going to be gone forever. I don't have any kids, but I would have loved to take my take my own children through here. It's like I have nieces, I have nephews, and I remember when I first brought my niece Isabel to Toys R Us Times Square. I remember when I brought my niece Leandra to Toys R Us Times Square, and Isabella wasn't until she was 5 years old that she was able to appreciate it. My niece Leandra, you know, when I brought her, she was only a year and a half, and she lost her little mind. She was just blown away by everything, and she loved dinosaurs and seeing the Jurassic Park T-Rex and being so scared and just, you know, holding on to me as tightly as a year and a half old little girl possibly could. And then, of course, the ride home. Like, she was just so enamored by everything that the ride home, even though she fell asleep 5 minutes before we get home, she wakes up and goes, "Rah!" And it's all going. It's all gonna be gone. You know, and for those of you who, you know, like, oh yeah, grow up, oh, it's just a toy store, this, that, the other. Yeah, you have no soul. No ifs, ands, or buts. You have no soul. I mean, me, I've always been a sucker for nostalgia, and then of course, especially when it comes to any stuff that I used to do, places that I used to go. And look at this, the 1984 Voltron, plastic, made by Playmates. You know, so more correct to the original anime versus the die cast of the new Voltron series, which is still great. Everybody should watch it, but it's almost like losing a member of the family. You know, it's like losing a distant relative, or somebody that like a cousin or an aunt that you haven't seen in a while. They're family, so yeah, you know, you go to the funeral, but you know, it's a loss, and it's a little bit more, it's a lot closer, you know, to that, because there's like you have standing memories with, you know, with this particular relative, and yeah, it's all over. It's all over. I'm not happy about it. Hopefully they figure something out. Maybe they could keep maybe they could keep a few stores open, or maybe they could reopen Toys R Us. Maybe they could reopen Toys R Us Times Square if they shut down all the other Toys R Us stuff in the Babies R Us in Union Square, the Toys R Us Express in the Manhattan Mall, and especially the insult to my intelligence Times Square Toys R Us, and reopen Toys R Us Times Square, the world's largest toy store. They bought out, closed down the FAO Schwarz, and now it's just, clearly, if you go to Toy Galaxy, watch the history of Toys R Us, you can see that they've made some very piss poor financial decisions and putting so many people out of work. It's just awful. And I'm outside now. This is possibly the last time I ever set foot in here. So this is me saying goodbye. Bye, Toys R Us. I'm done talking. You guys have a good night.